Thanks, everybody. I'm Rob Frohling, Chief Revenue Officer at Spin Magazine. Really excited to be out here for an awesome South by. If anyone's in town, got some fun events going on starting tonight through the rest of the week. Come find me. We've got Gary Clark Jr. and a couple of other great artists playing. So let me know. I can help set some stuff up. But on to more important and fun things right now. Lindsay and Jake, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us from Made In. So me being, from Spin Magazine, my life really revolves around music. So when you're cooking at home, quick question, do you have any favorite artists that you like to cook to, or any particular genres to get you in the mood?
I'm like the classic story of really into food, not into music. And I married a woman that knew nothing about food and is a musician. So she makes the playlists and says, like, well, Rod Stewart, this is The Faces. This was him before he was Rod Stewart. So I'm learning as she's learning about how to properly cook a duck breast.
Very, very good. How about you?
The correct answer is George Strait.
Okay. And it's non-negotiable. I like that. So in this world that we live in, where there's no shortage of non-stick frying pans and the 1999 celebrity steak knives, or if you call in the next 30 seconds, you get an extra blade for free. What is Made In doing to really stand out in a pretty congested environment?
Yeah, just a quick show of hands. Does anyone here know Made In, has cooked with Made In? Oh, cool. Every year, more and more people know the brand, which is very exciting. So we make chef-quality cookware and provide it to home cooks and some of the world's best professional kitchens as well. And that's what we lean on, right? Anyone can pay a single chef a lot of money to be a face on TV or on the Home Shopping Network or on Instagram. We're in over 2,000 professional kitchens, over 100 Michelin-starred kitchens. So what we do is we try to just hammer the home consumer over the head with pure quantity of chefs using our stuff. That is, you can't possibly pay this many chefs to be ambassadors. So we just put our customers first and show if it's good enough for all of these kitchens. We can't be paying all of these kitchens, so you should trust it, for your home use as well.
I would also add to that, he will be humble about this. Jake's family's been in kitchen supply since 1929. So we've got 4 generations of heritage, of craftsmanship, of relationships with not only the craftspeople that make our product in Italy, in France, in the United States, but then also the kind of culinary community that has been so kind to us. So, there's plenty of celebrity cookware. I'm sure you can all imagine one if you really, really try hard. But we lean on the fact that our chefs are buying our products from us, not the other way around. It's always my favorite when a chef happens to be endorsed by another cookware brand, and then they buy ours for their restaurant. I will not name names, call me later. But those are always the most exciting for us, is when someone is really choosing the performance quality, highly, intentionally crafted cookware that we've kind of built our brand on, because they need it to work in their restaurants and not because it's cute on Facebook or gonna convert on TikTok. So that kind of authenticity and those real customer relationships are something we have to be very, protective of. We always say I can't pay one chef and charge another. So, for us, kind of maintaining those relationships and taking good care of them is very important to that authenticity in a world where everyone and their mother seems to have a cookware brand now. I would just encourage you, go to their restaurants, peek over the past and see what they're really using.
Yeah, and that's really cool just to see just the show of hands of all the folks that are here in our audience that have actually not just heard of Made In, but are using Made In. Just to kind of touch on that, what are you guys doing just to kind of organically build and grow that community?
Yay, thank you for this question. The good news is our chef customers are naturally, excited to talk about and very credible in speaking about the products that they're using in their restaurants. And to me, they're much more exciting as kind of ambassadors and influencers than, the mommy blogger. We love them too. But, it's a really beautiful flywheel when I can get my restaurant customers a platform, right? They want to be in our television commercials. They're excited to be on our Instagram. We are fielding inbound around all day of chefs who maybe aren't quite as famous, but so excited to be part of the story. And they've got, a story to tell too. So when I can kind of harness that energy and then feed that to the home cook who is so keen to not just learn kind of the recipes and inspiration of our chef customers, but also have that peek behind the curtain of culinary culture. How would you do this in the restaurant? Who is this chef? When people come to Austin and they're always, first question, where should we eat? We have very strong opinions about where you should eat and what you're gonna order and why and the story behind this one. And actually, they picked up this dish when they were working at this other restaurant across the country, and they adapted it for their restaurant now. So that kind of inside scoop is something that we think provides our home cooks with access that's something they can't quite buy. And it's a really beautiful flywheel of our restaurant customers and our home cooks. That's a very natural, self-propelling community that's more scalable for us than paid reach. And including those folks in our paid media has been really fruitful for us.
Yeah, that's great. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've seen that, cooking is looked at as a skill now, right? We always say this, 50 years ago it was a chore. And you see a lot of type A personalities, like some of the folks that may be in this room, very business oriented, but get the cooking bug, right? And want to get better and want to learn new techniques. So, the more we can naturally serve them that kind of content through our tools, through our content, they're going to come back and buy more stuff. And that's where we've seen the most organic growth. Somebody buys one, a basic fry pan. We hit them with an email about a rounded saucier pan, and this is actually the best pan to cook pasta in. And here's a famous Italian chef showing you how to make carbonara in it. And oh, that's going to make me a better home cook, so I'm going to buy it. So that's how we're scaling right now.
Yeah, that's great. We've heard so much just over the past few days from just amazing brands and what they're doing to not just reach, but to be able to retain their community and to reward them. What is Made In doing that's a little kind of unique in terms of that kind of retention, loyalty and reward type program, and how are you using that to kind of really capture and retain those consumers?
I'll speak to the chef side and then the home consumer, but our chefs are our most loyal customers, right? The way the kitchens work is you have your executive chef, and then you have your chef de cuisine, and then your sous chef. And what we've seen is that when we get into a kitchen, the chef de cuisine will go open another restaurant in a year, and they bring Made In with them. So what's really important to us is when we get a new customer, we're buying the restaurant family meal. We're sending folks visiting out of town into their restaurants to support our customers. And what we're seeing is, these chefs leave the restaurants, take a bigger gig, and bring us with them.
It's always fun on the consumer side when we're very pleased with ourselves because we got them from 7th purchase to 8th purchase, and the B2B side just dunks on us and they're like, oh, they just opened 7 new hotels. Okay, fine. The LTV of our restaurants is unbelievable, and they're just such a loyal and generous community that we can never take them for granted. But not dissimilarly, it's a relationship, right? So this business has been built on relationships for 4 generations. Like I said, our 2 founders have been best friends since preschool, and we take the same approach with our customers. It's tough with a product that has a lifetime guarantee to resell you the same thing, right? I sold sneakers for a long time, and you were guaranteed gonna need new sneakers in a year and a half if you were running in them. Handbags, trends. Let's just convince you little bags are out, big bags are in, and we're just gonna keep doing that, and you're gonna keep buying purses. This pan's not going anywhere. That's a whole part of our deal. So how can I encourage the kind of culinary curiosity and expansion in your kitchen to go from your first frying pan to a comal, right? We're gonna go from, hey, I needed a good egg pan for my scrambled eggs in the morning to, I now only make homemade tortillas, right? We've got a high LTV customer, I talk about her all the time. Her name is Wendy. She would be thrilled to be mentioned here. And Wendy started, with us as a nonstick cook, and she was I only cook with nonstick, food always sticks cook. And over time, with a little bit of education and a little bit of access and a little bit of inspiration from our chefs, she went to now only making her own tortillas, will never touch another, store-bought tortilla, and just really kind of creating this cultural and culinary curiosity that we think not only imbues loyalty from a sales perspective, but also just a longer-term, relationship and a dialogue with that consumer. The kind of DTC e-com playbook of promos and sales, works just fine. It's not our gig. So I think we've really found success and kind of an authentic relationship by combining the B2B and DTC sides of the business, and that's created a really loyal and fervent customer base.
Yeah, that's great. And we'll talk more in a second about kind of the lens in which you're viewing influencers, and you spoke about a little bit just a minute ago, but I love what you're doing with content and the way in which you view content. I feel like, with this proliferation of content across, really all digital channels, leading to, of course, all this content saturation, and as a result, decreased attention spans. Can you touch on how you're creating content and the different narratives and storylines you like to drive to really make it engaging with your consumers?
Absolutely. So first of all, this is an open invitation to anyone today to come visit our content studio. It's just down the road. That's a real invitation, by the way. We opened our full-time content studio about a year ago, and it's a full kitchen. It's a real kitchen. It's a functioning kitchen. And we just strongly held the belief that the more education and inspiration I could put in front of our home cooks, the better that flywheel was going to act. And so we built a full-time open content studio, in-house production, in-house DP, in-house, everything, editing, in-house culinary talent, so that we could really serve that home cook at the pace of the internet, right? We are not a content creator in the traditional sense where I need you to build a relationship one-to-one with the influencer or the content creator, but I needed to have a space where I could invite chef customers, folks that are traveling, all sorts of different content creators into our space and be able to create really quick, really nimble content that was timely and engaging. So, in terms of how we keep their attention, it's always fun when you're getting a look inside someone's restaurant, inside someone's, secrets or techniques that they've never shared with the world before, because most of our chefs are not, Bobby Flay, right? You don't have the same kind of relationship with them. So it's a different equation than it would be with a content creator. By the way, Bobby Flay has purchased Made In, so if you're wondering, he is a customer. But not all
I was going to say that, but I think he didn't want us to say that because he has a deal with someone else.
We didn't say that, but he is a customer. But, not all folks are great on camera. Not all folks are TV, Food Network personalities. So it's always a bit more fun when you get somebody in the kitchen who is a novice and kind of feels very, very authentic, and they don't have it quite down pat like an influencer. That makes really, really fun education content.
And for the most part, cookware brands are pretty nameless, faceless businesses, right? Like, you see them on Instagram, or you might see them in your home goods store, but you don't know the people behind them. You don't know, the culture of the business. You don't know how they interact with their customers. So for us, one of our competitive advantages is let's show them a little bit about, what makes us who we are and the culture at Made In. And that's what the studio allows us to do, and content in general.
I also, to that point, access kind of has two angles, right? So there's access to the culture that we're fortunate enough to be a part of, and then there's access to product that not everybody else is going to get access to. So by nature of our supply chains, which are small, family-owned, artisanal, factories in little tiny, very quaint towns, our production process looks different than most of our competitors who are buying things, out of a catalog, kind of white labeling, and then putting them on the slow boat from China. We can make 500 unit runs, 1,200 unit runs of something very bespoke, very intentional, very highly crafted because of those supply chains. So when Nancy Silverton says, hey, I really want to make a bread knife, she's not picking a bread knife out of a catalog. She's specifying the number of serrations and exactly the right ivory tone of the micarta handle and the custom brass rivets. And we can actually, from a content perspective, document all of that, but also kind of give that customer access to a really niche and special product that not everyone else has access to by way of kind of imbuing loyalty.
That's really cool. Quick plug-in. My colleague and I went out to a great restaurant on Friday here in Austin, and it was my first time actually being delivered with which type of steak knives you wanted to have, whether it be, do you want Chinese steel, do you want German steel? I thought that was pretty cool, and I didn't get the first pick, but it is what it is. So more so speaking to, I suppose, the at-home customer with, some of the uncertainty with the economy and what's going to be happening this year. What are you seeing as far as, are folks still really going out to these kind of Michelin Award winning restaurants, or are they preferring to kind of cook some of these really cool exotic meals at home?
I'm a really big believer in the more you eat out, the more you enjoy cooking at home. And the more you cook at home, the more you actually enjoy your experiences eating out. And I think there's too many people that maybe historically, especially before COVID, where either I eat out 6 nights a week and the 7th night I do takeout, or I'm cooking in all the time and I hardly go out to restaurants. But for us, like, the inspiration cycle is going to a fancy restaurant, any restaurant, trying something out of your comfort zone, bringing it back home, and then like actually getting really good at cooking at home, and then getting a break, and then going out to eat. So I think the balance is what's most important, and I think that's what we're seeing out of our consumers.
Lindsay, anything to add?
You'll never see anything out of our marketing department that says, save money tonight by cooking in, right? Like, there's a couple of things that are a little harder because we do have such a robust restaurant side of the house that the DTC marketers are going to want to do. That get, we're playing whack-a-mole sometimes, but a huge part of our ethos is that we love restaurants. And, that's a huge part of our culture. So, those kind of tropes of save money on takeout and buy our $200 pan, not going to be us. And if it is, text me, I'm going to take it down.
I think that's all I got. With a few minutes to spare, we'll see if there's any questions from the audience. It's really great to see all the Made In fans already. That's super cool.
Thank you.
You can ask for food recs.
Or discount code.
I have questions about food recs for sure.
I just have a question. So what would you say for someone getting into cooking would be the #1 first item to get into?
Ready?
You're both too
Stainless clad.
Clad. We had a big argument over whether or not we could make a hero product. Some people in the company are like, we can't have hero products.
They're not
Stainless
here
clad
today.
is the hero product. If you can learn how to cook with stainless clad, everything is better. It's all about heat control. Yes, your food is more likely to stick, but when you understand how to preheat the pan, add fat at the right time, and just control the heat in the pan, everything's going to taste better. So a 10-inch stainless clad fry pan all day of the week.
All right, we have another back here.
Hi. Do you guys? Yeah, we're looking at the site right now. So it sounds like you guys lean pretty heavily on influencer content, but do you find yourself ever thinking about creative messaging being led by influencer and then informing how you speak in creative, or do you feel like you're always communicating your creative ideas to influencers and chefs and hoping that they deliver on that? How does that sort of creative process
Super
work
good
for y'all?
question. Very hot topic for us. So I'm going to put chefs over here for a second and influence over here. So we have a very bright red line where we will not put traditional influencers on our channels. We feel strongly that chefs are our best kind of surrogates in our ecosystem, and that influencers are people whose audiences we're keen to meet, but I don't need to put influencers on a made-in channel. I never want a home cook to be confused about a paid influencer next to a paying customer on our website. So all of our chefs get on this side of the red line, influencers on this side. To the messaging question, messaging I find is most efficient. They know their audience is better than we do. And what's going to resonate for the, mom who is selling nonstick to her, community is a slightly different message than the, ex-line cook, chefy guy on TikTok that's always wearing a hoodie. And leaving them in their lanes is important to us, as long as we're all obsessed with the same things about the product. So product performance doesn't waver. Our messaging around product performance doesn't change. But customizing the message to the audience is really important. The second part of the question, do we learn from them? Absolutely. I think the things that we find that are resonating are always great insights for the rest of the organization. And sometimes that's just, hey, the visual hook of a cheese pull can't be beat right now. So how can we make sure that even in our chef content, I've got a good first 3-second visual hook that is as compelling as what the content creators are making. So there's definitely insights we draw from all of our creator communities. It's just about making sure that we're informing the right things. We will never tell a chef what to cook. We will never tell a chef, hey, this is your line, here's what I need you to say about the pan. Sometimes we wish we could. There are days when they just talk like chefs, but there's definitely kind of creative insights we try to glean from our content creators.
Okay, for each of you, I'm a huge fan of food, huge. So one restaurant that each of you are like must visit in Austin.
Yeah, that's a tough question. I would say right now, Estee is probably the top of my list. I don't know if you've been there.
Solid, yep, love it.
Oh, well, I got to give you another one. So go to Lindsay. No, go to Lindsay, and then I'll give you another.
He just likes Estee because when they were thinking about opening Estee,
Has anyone heard of it, by the way? Yeah, it's fantastic.
10 out of 10 Estee. But when they were opening Estee, it's a fish restaurant, delicious, but they needed a fish basket. And so they kept harassing Jake for probably 2 years about making a commercial grade fish basket for the restaurant. And he was bullied into making a comically over-engineered fish basket that we then had to sell on our website and tried to convince home cooks that they needed a $100 fish basket.
So if you've had any fish at Estee, it's cooked in a made-in fish basket. And it actually was one of our best performing, like, natural, organic PR moves. So we're very happy we did it.
It's his pride and joy. I'm going to say Birdies. Not a hot take. Dear friends of ours, they have the most beautiful open kitchen. I'm a sucker for an open kitchen because I get to look at the pans. So go to Birdies, go look at the pans, eat. It's delicious.
Thank you for those. Those are good. Well, I think that's what we have. So thank you guys so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Talking about the brand. Appreciate it.
That's great.